Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe here with Battlefield 4, and you are looking at some footage that I somehow managed to capture earlier in the day, and I say that because it has not been easy. Everybody and their mother is trying to play this title. It is not easy to stay connected to a server or have some sort of sound dropout issue or some sort of rubber banding or stuttering. Regardless of system performance, no matter what you have, and even considering that I have a really beast mode machine at this point, there's problems abound. I get a really high frame rate, but it has nothing to do with it when it comes down to net coding and all of those associated problems. So anyway, how can we enjoy this paid beta test? Well, make sure that you've got your latest video card driver updates. NVIDIA and AMD have released a new set this week, specifically targeted at this title. Make sure that if you have a 64-bit operating system or CPU combination, that you are running the 64-bit version of the game. In most cases, I think it's just going to do it by default. However, just in case, double check it, make sure you're doing it, because that's going to help with memory utilization. Beyond that, you might want to hop onto a 32 or a 48 player server, because they seem to be a little bit more stable. Obviously, less players, more stability. At least in the meantime, just as we wait for the game to get some repairs. Beyond that, I think just make sure you're playing in your region, at least to start out, because you want a better ping. So set the filter to look for North America, if that's where you're at, or Europe, or just make sure that it's within your realm, because that's going to help. Ping is very important, and you don't want to be on a European server if you're in NA and dealing with the problems that we already have currently. That's just not going to cut it. So make sure of that, because I know in Battlefield 3 it would always switch your region settings. And again, I'm only saying that right now because it's a rough launch, and we all knew it would be. But these are some things to help out, I guess, until they patch it a bit more. So anyways, in regards to this footage, unfortunately, this is domination mode, infantry only, and normal on a normal server. I couldn't find anything else. I got disconnected from 3 other servers before even getting this footage. This, I think, is a 32 or 48 player server, I forget which, and it allowed me to stay on a little later, but at the very end I still get disconnected. Again, it's launch day, it's to be expected, whatever. But yeah, it's infantry only domination, which is unfortunate, because when I play Battlefield, I want to get into a tank or a helicopter or some sort of vehicle. I mean, that's what Battlefield is to me, coming from the past games. But anyway, I still had fun playing this mode. It would definitely be a lot better in hardcore mode. I don't think it should take half of a magazine to kill a human being, but whatever. There was still some fun to be had. What I do want to talk about, really, I think what I'm noticing, I was playing this with my friend Warheart last night, and we were just trying to explore some of the maps. There are very few large maps. Siege of Shanghai is one of the large maps. And there's this other one that has like this ground-embedded satellite dish, kind of like the one that was in the movie GoldenEye, I think. It really reminds me of that. And those 2 maps, I think, are the large ones that are built for 64 or designed for 64. And then you have the other maps that are kind of designed for smaller amounts of players. You have Operation Locker, which is the new close quarter level your guns up map, which is going to be I guarantee it, watch the servers, you're going to start seeing 24/7 Operation Locker servers. Mark my words, it's the new Metro until they recreate Metro, which I believe they're going to do, unfortunately. So there's that, but even then, I don't think it's as bad as Metro was. They do give you a couple of other routes that you can take that kind of open it up a touch. And generally, it's just a nicer looking level with some interesting gameplay characteristics. So it's not as bad as I think Metro was, but it's still the go-to close quarter map so far from what I've seen. Beyond that, there are some smaller ones. There's like the flood zone one, which is cool, how when the dam breaks and the water floods in and everything, and you got to rise to the top. But it's still pretty small, even at the largest setting. from what I've seen anyway. I've seen servers stating that it's Conquest large, but boy oh boy, it does not feel that big. Even when you're flying around in a helicopter, you can kind of look down below and you're like, wow, this is tiny. So there's that map, and there's a couple of others as well. There's this one, what is it, Zavad or Vazad? I don't know, some Russian map that it's kind of smoke and mirrors, I think is the best way to put it. It looks like it could be large, and the forest is all pretty and everything, and you look around and then you're like, wait a minute, the border's like right here. There's just a lot of boundaries really early on in that map. It's pretty linear, and a lot of the objectives in these maps are just way too close together. Even the one map that has a ton of vehicles on it, the objectives are like right next door to each other, and it's just, what are you thinking, DICE? And then you realize, wait a minute, why am I even asking these questions over and over again? Because we know what they're thinking. They're thinking current gen console systems. We're thinking that they're making levels that cater to those that want to just jump into the map and pull the trigger right away. The impatient people that don't like travel time. What can you do? The best maps in Battlefield 3 were actually maps that were built for Battlefield 2, and they were the ones that are featured in Back to Karkand. So, I think that with this title, they're just moving in a different direction. They're trying to cater to a different crowd, unfortunately, and that's just something that even started within BF3. So, like my friend Warhart continues to say, we're probably not going to see what Battlefield can truly be until BF5, and the reason for that is because by then, 360 and PS3 will be out the door, and we'll have PS4 and Xbox One and PC as the flagship platforms for the game, and then there will be no more hardware excuses. You can handle the large maps and the large player support, and then if we end up with tiny maps with objectives too close to each other, we'll know that they built them to cater to a specific group of people, and we'll just have to deal with it and hope that somebody else makes a better game, I guess. But beyond that, there's still so many ways to enjoy this title. Again, I think I would have had a lot more fun if I wasn't dealing with these disconnects and stuttering issues. The frame rate is so high, but it just doesn't matter because the netcode is being very problematic right now. But I just have to keep telling myself, look, you don't live in the day and age where people have launch standards. It's different. You have to just deal with the fact that you have to wait a couple months after launch before the game is what it should be. And I'm still having a tough time dealing with that because I'm old school when it comes to game development. So anyway, the core gameplay, there's some really nice mechanics in there with how the scopes work and with how Battlelog integrates into mobile devices and how you can have your map on a second screen or an iPad or a phone or whatever. All these little features, the game itself is even more beautiful than Battlefield 3. A lot of people say it looks exactly like Battle, but no, it doesn't. When you pay attention to the fact that this game has massive levels of destruction and still is able to maintain the frame rate that it does, ladies and gentlemen, that is not an easy thing to pull off with a game engine. The amount of destruction is just insane. The explosions, the debris, you hit a building with a tank and it just obliterates it. There's rocks and rubble and dust and everything. It's crazy what happens in this game. And that's why it makes you think, okay, well, maybe that's why. Do we trade that for the size of levels? I mean, if you look at Siege of Shanghai, the destruction in that for the size that we get, I mean, that the game engine can handle it. So I almost think, well, I don't know. But wow, I mean, the game is gorgeous when you just see what it's capable of. And the water. Let me take the time to talk about the water in this game. Some of the best looking water I've ever seen in a game. Last night, me and Warhart were playing on Paracel Storm, and we were just, it was funny. We weren't even paying attention to fighting anybody. We weren't even paying attention to the objectives for the most part. We just got on boats, and we waited till the storm hit, and the waves went crazy. We were just on boats and jet skis for most of the matches, jumping waves and being like, oh my goodness, this water is amazing. It looks real. And it was just, we were just having a blast. We were getting angry at people for killing us because we were just like too busy having fun playing in the water. That's like the first time that I'm just in a multiplayer server trying to goof around with the water. And honestly, you know what? I like that they added a training area now that you can test your settings and stuff, a firing range. But I really wish you could just launch your own game to play around and look at the maps. I really wish you could, because I would just launch in there with a couple friends and just jump around on the waves and things like that and have fun looking around and exploring the beautiful maps, because they're gorgeous. Regardless of their size, they're gorgeous maps. Don't ever get me wrong on that. Yeah, I have a problem with some of the sizes of those levels, but they're beautiful. And that one, when it starts to storm, and the rain and the wind and the sound, oh my goodness, ambient overload. DICE knows how to make a map. Holy smokes. You know, any other developer that's out there, they didn't really need to look at this competition they have here, because I don't think that they can be outdone. I mean, they just managed to blow you away in terms of level design, and the whole Levolution thing is just nuts. I mean, you're either taking down a building or dropping a dam, or a tower or something, and it's been kind of fun just trying to explore and see what breaks within the level. In some cases, I haven't found all of the tricks yet, but it's been pretty impressive so far. But just wow, jaw-dropping. I'm almost speechless when it comes to just looking at some of the effects that this game has been able to pull off. And on top of that, even if you're in a helicopter, in the past, you'd have like a wind effect, or the prop wash effect. All the debris flying around. But now they've even upped it a little bit. If you're like in a grassy area, you get leaves like blowing everywhere with all the wind and the wash and everything, and it's just crazy. And you see that happening, you're like, wow, my frame rate isn't dropping that much because all this is going on. And again, you're just like, this is engine technology at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. This is how you do it. And this is in a buggy, glitchy, unpolished version of the game. It doesn't get really bad until you see, a server with 64 players, and it just goes to heck. But, yeah, with that said, I think that I'll have a lot more fun with it in the future once it's polished up, because the levels, even though they're kind of small, it's still a fun game. There's still some cool things there. If there was one thing that I wish that I could probably get rid of, and something that I'll hate even more than the size of some of the maps, it's the lock-on stuff. It's still bad. Now, apparently, everybody starts out with the Law, which, from what I remember of the Law rocket launcher, it's a disposable launcher. It's like a one-time use, and you toss it. And it doesn't have any lock-on ability, unless there's a new version that does. I don't know. I'm not a Law rocket launcher expert, but the old one that had been around for years had no lock-on potential. But this one, it's like, it does less damage, but it'll fire and somehow just auto-track its target. I don't know. It's kind of dumb. But, and on top of that, you can go from that, and then you can get the RPG, and then there's the SMAW, and so there's like a lot more rocket or missile devices now. And then they still have the Javelin, which people haven't unlocked yet. That's just going to be the bane of my existence. I know it. And, if you're in a helicopter, you're already getting locked on by pretty much everything. And it's just day one. So imagine when you're dealing with people that are all fully leveled up. And on top of that, with some of the maps being so small, you get into a helicopter and then there's two jets on the other side. And it's like, okay, so I'm in a chopper and you expect me to fight off against an A-10 Thunderbolt. About that. Yeah, a lot of times those A-10s will just wreck you in a second. So helicopter flight, be careful. Make sure that you have somebody in the AA just ready to keep the skies clean. Otherwise, you've got a problem. Those jets. I was just almost brought back into the rounds I played last night. I was trying to fly and just instantly tore up by those jets. I don't really know what to do about it. You shoot off your chaff or whatever, your flares, and it's just, yeah, you're not gonna last long, because then if they don't hit you with some sort of guided missile, they're gonna hit you with their miniguns. So it doesn't really matter. But yeah, the problem there again is that they have a small theater to operate within, and some of these maps are so tiny that, well, you've got planes just doing loops trying to come back over in the same, space. And so, since they're not going to be fighting off into the distance with a helicopter, you can see the enemy aircraft just like right across the way. It's like, well, they're right there. It's not like, oh, I can't see anything, I'm too far. We're not talking about like Arma here, or even in Battlefield 2. If you look at some of the Back to Karkin maps, the levels were so large that you're like, okay, well, the jets are over there. I'm going to hang out over here. At least it's going to take them some time to get to me or whatever. I can drop off these troops and get back and whatever. Do my operation and bail. Yeah, with a small map, jets and helos, that's a big problem. So, I don't know. And again, this is day one without as many lock-on devices. I'm scared. I really am. We'll see how this goes. But again, see how it's coming back to level design affecting your enjoyment with a certain vehicle? I'm telling you, having vehicles in a game, if you have small maps, it just doesn't work right. So we'll see. But I even somehow managed to have a decent amount of fun in this domination mode. It's just that dealing with the laggy issues were kind of prohibiting me from experiencing this game the way it's meant to be played. But I think, again, in time, we'll just have to wait. Just pretend it didn't come out and that this is the beta test. I don't know. Just fool yourself. But I think that about covers it. Again, I hope you don't think that I'm hating on it too much. There's a lot of great gameplay here. I'm looking forward to playing it more with my friends and perhaps delivering you some Battlefield 4 content with them in it. That way you can see some teamwork. I'm going to have my buddy Warheart and T, as well as probably Darren and Phil from No Guts, No Galaxy, because those guys are my go-to tankers, and we'll be supporting Warheart and T in whatever they're doing, and they'll be joining us, I hope, as well in vehicles, too. I can drop them off in my helicopter, and I like playing in the transport chopper for some reason. It's a lot of fun. I don't know, but anyway, I'm getting sidetracked here. I'm getting excited, see, because I generally do love the game. I just can't wait till I can play it in hardcore mode and have fun with my friends on a stable server. So there's that. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're having fun with the game. Let me know in the comments below what you're up to, or any tips and tricks for the other viewers out there if they're having any issues. But with that said, thank you so very much for joining me. I will see you on the next one.